What prison food cost inside ADX Florence? Controlled silence. At the United States Penitentiary Administrative Maximum Facility in Florence, Colorado, commonly known as ADX Florence, the defining condition is not visible force but absence. Absence of movement. Absence of sound. Absence of human contact. Federal Records and Bureau of Prisons descriptions confirm that individuals housed here spend approximately 22 to 24 hours each day alone inside single-occupancy concrete cells. These cells measure roughly 7 by 12 feet. The doors are solid steel. Communication with other incarcerated individuals is largely prevented by design. Inside, nearly everything is fixed in place. The bed is poured concrete. The desk is molded from the same material. The stool does not move. The sink and toilet are combined into a single stainless steel unit. There are no bars to look through. Only a narrow slit of reinforced glass allows limited natural light. Even that light is deliberately angled to prevent a clear view of the outside environment. From inside, it is not possible to see the horizon, the mountains, or other people. This level of environmental control is not incidental. It is the stated purpose of the facility. According to official Bureau of Prisons classification, ADX Florence houses individuals considered the highest security risks in the federal system. Those with histories of violence, escape attempts, or involvement in organized criminal or extremist activity. The operational model is built on total containment. Meals arrive through a slot in the door. 3 times a day, a tray is passed through a narrow opening. There is no communal dining. No shared tables. No conversation across a room. The act of eating is solitary, regulated, and timed. This is where the question of cost begins. Not cost in the abstract, but cost in measurable, documented terms. How much the federal system spends to sustain life inside one of the most restrictive prison environments in the United States. Publicly available Bureau of Prisons data does not break down food costs by individual facility in granular detail. However, federal budget reports and oversight documents provide average per inmate daily food expenditures across high-security institutions. These figures consistently indicate that the daily cost of feeding an incarcerated person in the federal system falls within a controlled, standardized range, typically a few dollars per day per individual, adjusted annually for inflation and procurement changes. In high-security facilities like ADX Florence, the structure of meal delivery does not significantly increase the nutritional budget. The cost is not driven by variety or personalization. It is driven by efficiency, uniformity, and logistical control. Meals are designed to meet minimum nutritional requirements established by federal guidelines. They are not designed for preference. Breakfast may include items such as cereal, bread, and a portion of fruit. Lunch and dinner typically consist of a protein source, a starch, and a vegetable. Portions are measured. Ingredients are standardized. Menus rotate on a fixed schedule. In some documented cases, individuals in restrictive housing units, including those at ADX, may receive what is known as a restricted diet or nutritionally adequate meal as part of disciplinary measures. These meals are designed to meet caloric and nutritional standards while limiting variety. Court records and legal filings have addressed these practices. In multiple cases, federal courts have reviewed whether such diets meet constitutional requirements under the 8th Amendment, which prohibits cruel and unusual punishment. The consistent legal threshold has been whether the food provided is nutritionally sufficient, not whether it is appealing. This distinction is central. Inside ADX Florence, the system is not structured to provide comfort. It is structured to maintain order, reduce risk, and ensure basic physiological needs are met within tightly controlled parameters. The cost reflects that priority. Food procurement for federal prisons operates through large-scale contracts. Ingredients are purchased in bulk. Preparation follows standardized recipes designed for consistency across multiple institutions. The goal is predictability, both in cost and in outcome. At ADX, this predictability extends into the daily routine. Meals arrive at set times. Trays are collected at set times. There is no deviation without authorization. For individuals inside these cells, food becomes one of the few markers of time. Morning is defined by the first tray. Midday by the second. Evening by the third. There are no shared clocks on the walls. No external cues from a broader social environment. The schedule is internal, repetitive, and enforced. Formerly incarcerated individuals who have been housed in high-security federal facilities have described this repetition in documented interviews and legal testimonies. While individual experiences vary, a consistent theme emerges. The routine of meals becomes a central structure in an otherwise unchanging environment. Not because of the food itself, but because of what it represents: continuity, survival, and the passage of another controlled day. From a budgetary perspective, the federal government allocates funds for inmate care under broader operational categories. Food is one component among many, including staffing, security infrastructure, medical services, and facility maintenance. In maximum security settings, the majority of costs are not tied to food. They are tied to control. The architecture of ADX Florence reflects this. The facility is composed of multiple housing units, each designed to limit interaction and movement. Surveillance systems monitor activity continuously. Staff movement is coordinated and deliberate. Incarcerated individuals are escorted under strict protocols when leaving their cells for limited recreation or medical appointments. Even recreation is solitary. According to Bureau of Prisons descriptions, individuals may be allowed time outside their cells in enclosed areas, often referred to as recreation pens. These spaces are typically surrounded by high walls and covered with mesh or bars. Direct contact with others is prevented. The structure of daily life does not change based on the cost of meals. The food arrives. It is consumed. The tray is returned. What remains constant is the isolation. Academic research on long-term solitary confinement has examined the psychological effects of such conditions. Studies published in peer-reviewed journals and cited in legal proceedings have documented a range of outcomes, including anxiety, depression, and cognitive difficulties. These findings have been referenced in litigation involving ADX Florence and similar facilities. In a 2012 lawsuit filed against the Bureau of Prisons, plaintiffs challenged conditions at ADX, including prolonged isolation and its impact on mental health. The case led to a settlement in 2016 that introduced changes in how individuals with serious mental illness are identified and managed within the facility. These developments are part of the documented history of ADX Florence. They do not alter the fundamental structure of the institution. The meals continue to arrive through the slot. The cost remains controlled. The environment remains unchanged. From an administrative standpoint, the system is functioning as designed. Nutritional requirements are met. Security risks are minimized. Operational costs are maintained within federal budget constraints. From inside the cell, the experience is defined by repetition and restriction. There is no dining hall. No shared space. No informal exchange of conversation over food. The act of eating is reduced to its most basic function: intake. Calories are consumed. Nutrients are absorbed. The body continues. In this environment, the concept of cost becomes abstract. The federal government may spend a calculated amount per day to provide meals. That figure can be tracked, audited, and reported. It exists in documents and budget lines. But inside the cell, cost is not experienced as a number. It is experienced as limitation. The limitation of choice. The limitation of movement. The limitation of human contact. Each tray that passes through the slot is identical in process, if not in exact contents. There is no negotiation. No variation based on preference. No opportunity to alter what is provided. This uniformity is intentional. It reduces unpredictability. It simplifies logistics. It reinforces control. Across the federal prison system, food service is one of the most standardized operations. At ADX Florence, that standardization is integrated into a broader framework of total regulation. Every aspect of daily life is scheduled. Every interaction is mediated. Every necessity is delivered under supervision. The cost of food is one of the few elements that can be quantified with relative clarity. It can be compared across facilities, adjusted for inflation, and analyzed within federal spending reports. The cost of isolation cannot be measured in the same way. There is no line item for the absence of sound. No budget category for the absence of human presence. No financial metric for the psychological impact documented in court filings and academic studies. Inside ADX Florence, both forms of cost exist simultaneously. One is recorded in dollars. The other is recorded in time. Time spent alone in a concrete cell. Time marked by the arrival of meals. Time structured by an unchanging routine. The system does not require variation to function. It requires consistency. And that consistency is maintained day after day, through processes that are designed to be repeatable, measurable, and controlled. The tray arrives. The slot closes. The silence returns. Measured intake. In the federal prison system, food is not prepared at the level of individual facilities alone. It is governed by a centralized structure that prioritizes uniformity, cost control, and compliance with nutritional standards set by the Federal Bureau of Prisons. ADX Florence operates within that same structure. What enters each cell on a tray is the end result of a system designed long before the food reaches the building. Menus are developed using standardized meal plans. These plans are reviewed to ensure they meet caloric and nutritional requirements established by federal guidelines. The objective is not variety but adequacy. Daily intake is calculated. Calories are measured. Protein levels are defined. Portion sizes are fixed. Across federal facilities, including high-security institutions, the Bureau of Prisons has historically aimed to provide approximately 2,500 to 3,000 calories per day per incarcerated individual, depending on age, activity level, and medical needs. These figures are drawn from publicly available operational guidelines and oversight reports. At ADX Florence, activity levels are limited by design. Movement is restricted. Energy expenditure is minimal. The nutritional baseline remains consistent with broader federal standards, but the environment in which food is consumed differs significantly. There is no kitchen interaction. In lower security prisons, incarcerated individuals may work in food service areas, preparing meals under supervision. That layer of involvement does not exist in the same way at ADX Florence. The risk profile of the population restricts such assignments. Food preparation occurs in controlled institutional kitchens, following strict procedures. Ingredients are delivered through federal procurement contracts. These contracts prioritize bulk purchasing to reduce cost. Items such as rice, beans, pasta, processed meats, and frozen vegetables are common staples because they are cost-effective, stable, and easy to store. Fresh items are included, but within limits. Budget constraints shape the menu. Oversight reports from the Department of Justice Office of the Inspector General have repeatedly emphasized cost efficiency in prison food service. The per-inmate daily food expenditure across the federal system has remained relatively low compared to other operational costs. Estimates from these reports and related federal data indicate that the government often spends between approximately $3 and $5 per day per inmate on food, though exact figures fluctuate based on contracts, inflation, and supply chain changes. ADX Florence does not operate outside this framework. Despite its status as the most restrictive federal prison, its food budget aligns with system-wide standards. The cost is controlled not by reducing nutritional value below required thresholds, but by limiting variety, sourcing inexpensive ingredients, and maintaining strict portioning. Each meal is assembled according to specification. A tray might include a measured serving of protein, such as poultry, ground meat, or plant-based alternatives, paired with a starch like rice or potatoes and a portion of vegetables. Bread is often included. Dessert items, when provided, are simple and mass-produced. There is no customization unless medically required. Special diets are documented in federal policy. Individuals with diagnosed health conditions may receive modified meals, lower sodium, diabetic-friendly options, or allergen-specific adjustments. These changes are prescribed through medical evaluation and documented within institutional records. Religious dietary accommodations are also recognized within federal guidelines. These include certified meals that meet specific requirements, such as halal or kosher standards. However, even these accommodations operate within the same cost-controlled framework, often relying on pre-packaged certified items. At ADX Florence, delivery remains unchanged. Regardless of the content of the tray, the method is the same. The slot opens. The tray is passed through. The slot closes. Time to eat is limited. After a set period, trays are collected. This process is consistent across restrictive housing units. It ensures sanitation, maintains order, and prevents the accumulation of items that could be used to disrupt operations. Nothing is left to chance. From a financial perspective, the predictability of this system is essential. Bulk procurement reduces per unit cost. Standardized recipes reduce waste. Controlled portions prevent overconsumption and ensure inventory stability. Food service in federal prisons is not designed to fluctuate with individual preference or seasonal variation. It is designed to function the same way every day across multiple facilities regardless of location. ADX Florence represents the most controlled end of that spectrum. There is no commissary access in the same way as lower security prisons. In many federal institutions, incarcerated individuals can purchase additional food items, snacks, beverages, and packaged goods through commissary accounts. These purchases supplement standard meals and introduce an element of choice. At ADX, Commissary access is heavily restricted and varies depending on classification status. For those in the most secure housing units, options are limited. The primary source of food remains the institutional meal tray. This reinforces the standardized cost structure. The government provides the baseline. The individual has little capacity to alter it. Oversight of food service extends beyond budgeting. Inspections are conducted to ensure compliance with health and safety regulations. Kitchens are evaluated for cleanliness, food handling practices, and adherence to preparation standards. These inspections are documented and subject to review. Legal challenges related to food in federal prisons have typically focused on adequacy rather than quality. Courts have consistently held that the Constitution requires that incarcerated individuals receive nutritionally sufficient food. It does not require that the food be varied, flavorful, or culturally specific beyond recognized accommodations. This legal framework shapes policy. As long as caloric and nutritional needs are met, and food is prepared under sanitary conditions, the system is considered compliant. At ADX Florence, compliance is integrated into a broader structure of control. The food is not separate from the environment. It is part of it. The tray is delivered within a system that limits movement, interaction, and autonomy. The same principles that govern cell design and daily schedules also govern meal service. Consistency is maintained. Deviation is minimized. From the perspective of federal budgeting, this approach achieves its intended outcome. Costs remain predictable. Operations remain stable. Security risks are reduced. From inside the cell, the experience is defined by repetition. The same tray structure. The same delivery method. The same absence of choice. Over time, this repetition becomes a fixed rhythm. Documented accounts from individuals who have spent extended periods in high-security federal facilities describe how meals structure the day. Without external variation, the arrival of food becomes one of the few consistent markers of time. Morning, midday, evening. Each marked by the sound of the slot opening. The cost of each meal can be calculated. It can be broken down into ingredients, labor, and overhead. It can be compared to costs in other institutions or even outside the prison system. But within ADX Florence, those calculations remain external. Inside, the focus is not on the number. It is on the process. The tray arrives as part of a system that is designed to function without interruption. There is no negotiation with that system. No adjustment based on personal preference. No deviation from the schedule. Food is provided. It is consumed. The routine continues. In this environment, the economics of food are inseparable from the architecture of control. Every dollar spent is tied to a system that prioritizes containment over variation. Every meal reflects that priority, not through what is added, but through what is removed. Choice is removed. Interaction is removed. Uncertainty is removed. What remains is a controlled exchange. A tray through a slot. A fixed portion. A measured intake. And then once again silence.